Good morning, everyone. I'm William Terry Wind, and I would like to welcome you to Fort Walton Beach, Florida, where the sun is shining brightly today. For the next few minutes, I'll be discussing the interpersonal communication process as a requirement for Human Services 508 with Liberty University. My overarching goal in taking this course and learning to be a better communicator is as with anything that I needed a plan. I needed a plan set out before me. And me being prior military, I always wanted a plan set out before we started stuff so that we can go and see how we're going to accomplish our mission, or in this case, how can I accomplish to become the best communicator that I can be. The definition that Stewart gives when it talks about the term interpersonal is labels the kind of communications that happens when people involved talk and they listen in ways that maximizes the presence of the personal. And doing this, those that I encounter each day in my life as a Christian, as a husband, as a father, as a pastor, as a friend, and I deal with people giving me the greatest gift that they can give me, and that is sharing their life with me. And that's ways, and I want to maximize out my abilities in order to be a great communicator. Next slide, please. Starting off this course, we took a uniquely used survey, and what this was testing out our behavioral blends and what our personalities are made of. Now, when I took this, I was looking to find out, who am I? Who am I as William Terry went to others as well as to myself? And in part of this survey, the section on what is expected of me, I discovered that I was a high S, a steady specialist, high S type category. And what this means is that the positive influence that I can have upon people is because I'm often quiet, I'm reserved, and people see this as someone whom they can listen to and actually someone who is sought out after because of the good listening skills that this type of personality sheds out on people. The negative part of all of this is people who what is expected of me is that it can have a negative influence where others may think that I am weak or maybe just too soft in the way that I do things because I am kind of laid back type of a person. Next slide. This is me part of this survey. I was found to be a high CSI. Now the part of positive influence that can come from this is that the survey says that I am incredibly gifted with people skills, and I would hope that would be the case being a pastor, because it's my desire to be able to treat people and to respect people and to take care of my people. And in order to do that, I have to be able to invest myself in their lives and have others invest in me, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But this type of personality, the CSI, it fits perfectly with who I am. But on the downside of this, I must also be careful not to let others see this compassion as something that they can take advantage of, because being a laid-back type of leadership that I have, often others can see that as weakness and try to work around that to take advantage of everything. Next slide, please. In the communication process, there's also barriers that we encounter, and these barriers come up in knowing each other, knowing who I am and knowing who you are. And there are potential barriers in our communication that can actually destroy our conversation, so to speak. But some of these barriers that are negative aspect of side is perception. One of them is perception. We all make judgment about people a lot of times on what we see and what we perceive is that in that person, and sometimes it may be as much as what they're wearing or the clothes that they wear or the physical aspect of some. Maybe they have tattoos or long hair or short hair, maybe gray hair like mine. people see these differences and they perceive a person a certain way, and that is a barrier that we have to get past in order to be the communicator that we need to be. Self-disclosure. I am one of the worst probably in this matter because relationships can deteriorate rapidly if I'm not willing to let others know who I am. As a pastor, once again, I have to be willing to let others see into my life and see who I am, that I am compassionate, that I am caring, and want to take care of them. Next slide, please. As I said, overcoming these type of barriers is often difficult if we don't give it enough of ourselves. And what I learned in this course and some of the study material in which I went through, and one thing that stood out to me was we have to get to the heart of the matter. You know, Stewart says that there's no better place to begin your story than with what is at the very heart of the matter for you. And that goes as far as a listener or the person talking, that if we can get to the heart of the matter and that we can rest assured that we're compassionate and listening to each other and doing this, then that is going to make us better receptors of each other and more open as I open myself up to them and they open their self up to me. It's used a metaphor in the book of inhaling and exhaling. When we are inhaling, we are taking people's lives into our own lives. And when we are exhaling, we are giving our lives into theirs. And if you just think about that, in our normal breathing, we take these light breaths. Just a light breath. But when we are inhaling, as this metaphor talks about, inhaling somebody else, we have to take it all in. We have to take that real big, deep breath where it just absorbs what this person is about and who they are and what they mean to us. When we exhale, and this is often a problem that I had with myself, was exhaling and just getting everything out of us. You know, when we take that deep breath and we let it go, then we just go and let it all out. And I have to be able to let my feelings, who I am, be known in order to be able to take care of my people. Next slide, please. When we're doing this, there's always the noise pollution. There's an internal and an external noise pollution. And the internal is how I speak to myself. You know, a lot of times we hear that we are often our worst enemies because we always see these things like I'm always this way or the other. So that can be self-defeating as far as what we truly think of ourselves. Now, as far as doing this, once again, I have to be aware of these things that I'm doing this. Next slide, please. Now, the external noise pollution, you know, whose feelings are they? What are we really listening to start with? We have to be careful, as Peterson says, not to accuse talkers of having certain feelings. You know, what they are feeling is what they are feeling, and I can't understand or I can't know exactly what they're feeling unless I am that person. In order to be able to know this person, I have to ask. So to have that better understanding when we're feeling and these emotions come from, then we have to be both mindful of who they are and who we are. Next slide, please. Next slide. My action plan for this, my personal goals, is the reality of self. In the Queendom survey, the results indicated that I was adept at interpreting other people's words and actions and seeing things, which is a marvelous thing for me. But I also have to have that understanding of who I am and being willing to share that. A few things that I would like to leave you with today is from the Word of God, and I don't think there's any greater place. But the Word of God tells us in 2 Corinthians 10:5 to take every thought captive. In order to understand, I have to take those thoughts captive. And the Word of God also shows us in James 1:19, says, let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak and slow to wrath. God gave us two of these and only one of these, and there was a purpose for that. And be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. The renewing of this mind from the way we used to think to the way we do now, it'll make all the difference in the world when you communicate with others. Thank you, and God bless you.